So I'll tell you something about properties of pure substances, and then we'll also solve few questions if time permits, because I have to leave by 8:45. I have to attend a meeting at 9 o'clock. So I'll leave by 8:45. So if we could not finish it today, then we'll continue it tomorrow. And after completion of this topic, we'll do few questions which I have identified from previous year GATE papers. So let us start with the topic. Properties of pure substances. So what is the concept of pure substance? What is pure substance? A substance that has a fixed chemical composition throughout is called a pure substance. Now, this word is important. Single element like nitrogen, helium, carbon dioxide, for example, are all pure substances. But even mixture of element can be termed as pure substances if the composition is in fixed proportion and is homogeneous. Fixed chemical composition is required. So the essential condition for substance to qualify for pure substance is uniform chemical composition. So just let us look at these substances and try to identify which of the following is pure substance. Say, for example, pure argon or nitrogen, natural air in gaseous condition, then mixture of ice and water, then mixture of oil and water, then mixture of liquid and gaseous air. So just try to identify which of these substances has uniform chemical composition. That substance will be termed as pure substance. Since this is a single element, argon or nitrogen, or for example any other gas, this is a pure substance because it is a single element and has homogeneous composition. Now when you talk about mixture of ice and water, this is also a pure substance because ice and water both have the same chemical composition, both are H2O. So throughout the mixture it is only one compound, that is H2O. Although H2O is in different phase, but since the chemical composition is uniform, this is termed as pure substance. Now, air, we know, is a mixture of several gases. Air is considered to be a pure substance because it has a uniform chemical composition. Various gases such as oxygen, nitrogen, some amount of argon, they are all present in a fixed proportion. So if the proportion is uniform, then it is a pure substance. Now this one, mixture of oil and water, this is not a pure substance. Since oil is not soluble in water, so it will collect on top of water forming two chemically dissimilar regions. So this cannot be considered as pure substance. When you are liquidifying air, so a mixture of, sorry. So mixture of liquid and gaseous air is not a pure substance since the composition of liquid air is different from the composition of gaseous air, and thus the mixture is no longer chemically homogeneous. This is due to different components in air which condenses at different temperature at a specified pressure. So we can say that the chemical composition is not uniform because different element will condense at different, when you are liquidifying air, then different component will condense at different temperature. So you should be able to identify. Hanji.
सर जो मिक्सचर ऑफ लिक्विड एंड गैसेस एयर है उसमें केमिकल कॉम्पोजिशन तो सेम ही रहेगी, मतलब उसकी या फिर चेंज हो जाएगी?
चेंज हो जाएगी. इट विल डिपेंड अपॉन द टेम्परेचर एक्चुअली. So when you are liquidifying air, so that means you are decreasing temperature. So nitrogen get liquidify at some minus 192 degrees centigrade. Oxygen liquidify at a different temperature. So first, say one element get liquidify. Then after some time, when you further decrease the temperature, then the second element get liquidify. So at first there may be in gaseous state there may be a single element. So since the temperature of liquidification of different component is different, that's why it's not a homogeneous. So whenever there's a mixture of two gases whose have different boiling points and then you try to condense them, then each component will condense at a different temperature. That's why chemical composition is not uniform. Gaseous state में chemical composition is uniform, but as soon as you try to liquidify, oxygen and nitrogen may not be 21 and 79% because oxygen may condense first and all liquid may be oxygen until the temperature drops from liquidification temperature of the oxygen. So that's why chemical composition is not uniform. If all the
सर आइस और वाटर के
ice of water
सर आइस और
एक ही कंपाउंड है,
यस सर एक्चुअली वो भी पूछना था कि आइस की डेंसिटी अलग होती है, वाटर की डेंसिटी अलग होती है, तो उसका फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मैटर करता है कि केमिकल कंपोजिशन सेम होना चाहिए।
राइट, केमिकल कंपोजिशन यूनिफॉर्म होना चाहिए,
ओके
डेंसिटी से फर्क नहीं पड़ता। सो एलिमेंट और कंपाउंड और अ मिक्सचर व्हिच इज यूनिफॉर्म और होमोजेनियस केमिकल कंपोजिशन, दिस वर्ड इज इंपॉर्टेंट।
सर तो जो ये गैसेस होती हैं जैसे N2O2 जो एयर में होती हैं, तो जब ये लिक्विफाई होती हैं तो इनके बीच कोई इंटरेक्शन होता है, मतलब लिक्विड स्टेट में, मतलब कोई सेकेंडरी इंटरेक्शन फोर्स होती है?
नहीं, इंटरेक्शन नहीं होता, लेकिन एक गैस पहले लिक्विडिफाई होगी, दूसरी बाद में लिक्विडिफाई होगी, दोनों का बॉइलिंग पॉइंट डिफरेंट होगा ना। तो जैसे आपने टेम्परेचर कम करना शुरू किया तो जिसका बॉइलिंग पॉइंट ज़्यादा होगा वो पहले लिक्विडिफाई होना शुरू हो जाएगी। जब तक वो पूरी लिक्विडिफाई नहीं होगी दूसरी वाली गैस तो गैसियस स्टेट में ही रहेगी। तो जब आप लिक्विडिफाई करेंगे किसी मिक्सचर को तो जिस एलिमेंट का उस मिक्सचर में जिस एलिमेंट का बॉइलिंग पॉइंट ज़्यादा होगा वो पहले लिक्विडिफाई हो जाएगा। जब वो पूरा लिक्विडिफाई हो जाएगा उसके बाद फिर फर्दर जब आप टेम्परेचर कम करेंगे तब दूसरे वाला एलिमेंट का नंबर आएगा।
बट सर उसकी केमिकल कॉम्पोजिशन तो चेंज नहीं, उसकी फिजिकल स्टेट ही तो चेंज हुई गैस की।
हाँ, लेकिन होमोजीनियस नहीं है ना केमिकल कंपोजिशन। लिक्विड में सिर्फ एक ही गैस है। से फॉर एग्जांपल दो गैस हैं जिसका एक का टेम्परेचर 65 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड है, एक का 75 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड है बॉइलिंग टेम्परेचर। तो अगर आप 100 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड से वो गैसियस स्टेट में जैसे जैसे आप कम करते जाओगे तो जब आप 75 पे आओगे तो वो 75 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड वाला लिक्विडिफाई हो जाएगा। और जब तक वो पूरा लिक्विडिफाई नहीं होगा तब तक वो जो दूसरा एलिमेंट है जिसका बॉइलिंग टेम्परेचर 65 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड है वो गैसियस स्टेट में ही रहेगा। तो लिक्विड का जो कंपोजिशन है वो तो एलिमेंट 2 का कंपोजिशन है और गैसियस स्टेट में जो एलिमेंट है वो एलिमेंट 1 है। तो होमोजीनियस नहीं रहा ना, फिर तो वो अलग अलग हो गया। वो यही वाली कंडीशन हो गई जैसे कि मिक्सचर ऑफ ऑयल एंड वाटर वाली कंडीशन है, ये होमोजीनियस केमिकल कंपोजिशन नहीं रहा। फ्रैक्शनल डिस्टिलेशन जब करते हैं ना, जब मिक्सचर होता है फॉर एग्जांपल पेट्रोल या डीजल है, उसका कंपोजिशन आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए क्या करते हैं, उसको बॉईल करते हैं। तो पहले जिस एलिमेंट का बॉइलिंग पॉइंट कम होता है वो वाले एलिमेंट वेपोराइज होते हैं, उनको आपने कलेक्ट किया, उनको आइडेंटिफाई किया, फिर ऑल बॉईल किया तो जो दूसरा एलिमेंट है जिसका बॉइलिंग पॉइंट थोड़ा ज़्यादा है वो एवोपरेट होगा, फिर आपने उसके वेपर्स कलेक्ट किए। तो इसी प्रोसेस को फ्रैक्शनल डिस्टिलेशन प्रोसेस कहते हैं। तो जब आप गर्म करते हो किसी मिक्सचर को तो जिसका बॉइलिंग पॉइंट कम है वो पहले वेपोराइज होगा। जब तक वो वेपोराइज नहीं हो जाएगा तब तक जो दूसरा एलिमेंट है उसमें जिसका बॉइलिंग पॉइंट ज़्यादा है वो वेपोराइज होना शुरू ही नहीं होगा। इसलिए गैसियस स्टेट में तो एक ही एलिमेंट है। इसी तरह से जब आप गैस को कंडेंस करोगे, लिक्विडिफाई करोगे, तो पहले जिसका बॉइलिंग पॉइंट ज़्यादा है वो वाली गैस लिक्विड में कन्वर्ट होने शुरू होगी। जब वो पूरी लिक्विड में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगी उसके बाद फिर जब आप और टेम्परेचर कम करोगे तब दूसरी वाली गैस का नंबर आएगा। इसी प्रोसेस से आप गैसेस को सेपरेट कर सकते हो। दिस इज फ्रैक्शनल condensation.
मतलब वो सर ऐसे होगा ना कि मतलब जैसे आप कह रहे हो फिक्स प्रोपोर्शन, तो वो फिक्स प्रोपोर्शन चेंज हो जाएगा स्टेट चेंज होने की वजह से।
हाँ, फिक्स प्रोपोर्शन चेंज हो जाएगा ना। अब आप जब आपने इसको लिक्विडिफाई किया तो जो लिक्विड है वो सारा का सारा ऑक्सीजन है, और जो गैसियस स्टेट में सारा का सारा नाइट्रोजन है, तो फिर वो होमोजीनियस नहीं रहा ना, थ्रू आउट फिक्स केमिकल कंपोजिशन नहीं रहा। जैसे कि इसमें भी थ्रू आउट केमिकल कंपोजिशन यूनिफॉर्म नहीं है, यहाँ पे ऑयल है, यहाँ पे पानी है। अगर आपने इफ यू वांट टू नो वेदर इट्स अ प्योर सब्सटेंस एंड और नॉट अ प्योर सब्सटेंस, देन जस्ट लुक एट द केमिकल कंपोजिशन। इफ इट इज होमोजीनियसली डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड, then it's a pure substance. Otherwise, if it is segregated, if one element at some place is in excess quantity, at some other place it's in less quantity, then this is a mixture, but it is not a pure substance.
तो बट सर फिर ऐसे तो इसका डायरेक्ट रिलेशन डेंसिटी से नहीं हो गया, मतलब यूनिफॉर्म डेंसिटी से?
नहीं, it's about the chemical composition. Only chemical composition, we have to look at the chemical composition at different places in the quantity of the mixture. If the chemical composition is uniform, it is pure substance. It's H2O, whether it's ice or gas or liquid. It's the chemical formula is H2O, so that's why this is a pure substance. Now here the gas is oxygen and liquid is nitrogen, or gas is nitrogen, oxygen is and liquid is oxygen, then the chemical composition is not uniform, so it's not a pure substance. ठीक है क्या? Should we proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. What is phase of a pure substance? We just saw that water H2O can exist in 3 different phases. So different element can exist at different phases. Say for example, at room temperature, the pressure at room temperature and pressure, copper is in solid phase, mercury is in liquid phase, and nitrogen is gaseous phase. So under different condition, each may appear in different phase. How do you define a phase? Now, phase is identified as having a distinct molecular arrangement that is homogeneous throughout and separated from the other by easily identifiable boundary surfaces. So for example, the 2 phase of H2O in iced water, it represents a good example. In general, every substance can exist in 3 different phases: solid, liquid, and gas. But some of the substance can exist in more than 3 phases. But we'll focus on phase transformation process between solid, liquid, and gas, specifically for H2O. You might have studied about a phase diagram or iron carbide diagram in your कौन से subject में पढ़ा? Material science.
Yes, sir.
So here in thermodynamics, we'll focus on phase transformation of H2O. But let us try to understand what is different between the solid, liquid, and gaseous phase. So in case of solid, the molecules are arranged in a 3-dimensional pattern that is repeated throughout. You might have studied about the lattice structure, and must be BCC and FCC and all those things. No, it's not. Now, because of the small distance between the molecules in a solid, the attractive force of molecules on each other are large, which keeps the molecules at fixed position. You must remember that this attractive force converts to repulsive force as the distance between the molecules approaches 0. If you bring molecules closer, though it's attractive force, but if they are brought very close to each other, then the attractive force converts into repulsive. Now this prevents the molecules from piling up on top of each other and keep the molecules in a fixed arrangement. So even though the molecules in solid cannot move relative to each other, but they continually oscillate about their equilibrium position. And the velocity of molecule or the momentum of the oscillation, it depends upon temperature. At sufficiently high temperature, the velocity and thus the momentum of the molecules may reach to a point where the intermolecular force are partially overcome and groups of molecules break away. This is the beginning of the melting process. You increase the temperature, solid starts converted into liquids. Now, in case of liquids, the molecular spacing in liquid phase is not much different from that of solid, except the molecules are no longer at fixed position relative to each other, and they cannot rotate and translate freely. The intermolecular forces are weaker relative to solids, but still relatively strong compared with the gases. What about gas? In the gas phase, the molecules are far apart from each other. Molecules are far apart from each other, and a molecular order does not exist. Gas molecules move about at random, continually colliding with each other and the walls of the container they are in. So, in this phase, the molecules have weakest intermolecular force. Particularly at low densities, the intermolecular forces are very small, and oscillations are the only mode of interaction between the molecules. Molecules in the gas phase are at considerably higher energy level as compared to liquid and gas. Therefore, the gas must release a large amount of energy before it can condense and freeze to liquid. And liquid must release energy before they can be converted to solid. Reverse is also true. We know heating solid, it will get converted into liquid, and on further heating liquid, it will be converted into gas. So it's all about the energy levels of the molecules. So we'll be studying about H2O. This exists in ice and water and liquid state and steam at different temperatures and pressure conditions. So if ice absorbs heat, it gets converted into or melts into water, and on further heating, water gets evaporated to steam. And the reverse is also true. If we cool steam, it will convert it into water. On further cooling, water will convert it into ice. Now, steam is working fluid in steam power plants, as in steam turbines and steam engines. So as thermal engineers, we are more concerned about interconversion of water to steam. So we'll first focus our discussion on the interconversion of water into steam and study this process and draw a thermodynamic diagram for this interconversion. And after that, we shall add ice-water interconversion in our thermodynamic diagram. So we'll perform an experiment during which water gets converted into steam. So let us consider some quantity of water at 20 degrees centigrade. This is a cylindrical vessel. This blue color represents quantity of water. And initially this is at atmospheric pressure and 20 degrees Celsius. Now this cylinder is fitted with a sliding piston. This is the piston which can move up to increase the volume of the container. And we'll heat this container till the temperature increases and reaches to 300 degrees centigrade. Now this heating is at constant pressure process. Weight of the piston is say negligible. So the total force per unit area is the pressure in the container is 1 bar. Whatever pressure is here, that is the pressure here. If you consider weight also, then pressure in the container would be summation of force per unit area because of the weight plus atmospheric pressure. So assume that this
Sir,
is, yes.
सर रिवर्सिबल है मतलब ये प्रोसेस एक तरीके से.
Say if there is no friction between walls of the piston and the cylinder, if we assume that there is no frictional losses, if we assume that there is no frictional losses between the molecules of the fluid in the container, then we can say it's reversible. But right now we are not using that assumption. What we are assuming is that the pressure in the container is equal to 1 atmosphere. Now you can consider this thing considering two different say criteria. Number one, either you assume that the weight of the piston is negligible in comparison to the atmospheric pressure, so this does not contribute to pressure in the container. Or else you can assume that we evacuated some amount of air from the container. If you remove some amount of air, the pressure in the container reduces to atmosphere. And then you put a piston which compensate the reduction in the pressure. So now the pressure in the container is equal to 1 atmosphere. We are not saying that it's reversible or irreversible. So reversible or irreversible means exactly equal amount of heat energy if liberated from this fluid at 300 degrees centigrade, then it will trace the original path and come back to this state. Right now we are not saying that it is exact or it may be different. So if there is no frictional losses, then heating the fluid from 20 degree to centigrade, 20 degree centigrade to 300 degree centigrade absorbs heat, and there is some phase transformation, some process take place. And if you cool it from 300 degree centigrade to 20 degree centigrade, exactly same amount of heat is liberated. Now, but if there is some frictional losses, friction, as I said, can be at two different places between the walls of the cylinder and piston, and friction between the molecules. So if there is some friction, then the reverse process may not liberate exactly same amount of heat. The amount of heat liberated would be slightly less because some amount of heat has been lost in friction to overcome friction. So right now let us not go into that reversible process or irreversible process. So we'll just heat this, which is at 20 degrees centigrade, and we are interested in the phase transformation. We'll want to see that how or at what temperature the water gets converted into steam. So we'll plot a VT diagram, a specific volume on x-axis and temperature on y-axis, and this is a constant pressure process. So if we heat it, the volume will increase and piston is free to slide. So piston will slide away, slide up. So the volume may increase because of the increase in the temperature, but we are not restricting the movement of the piston. So the pressure inside the chamber will remain 1 atmosphere. You can increase the pressure if you put additional weight. That's the second part of the experiment. We'll be plotting temperature versus specific volume. This is the graph. So V on x-axis and T on y-axis. Now this initial state can be represented by this single point on this VT diagram. So let us zoom into the VT diagram. So we have this point 1, which represent the state of water in the cylinder at 1 atmosphere and 20 degrees centigrade. This is T on y-axis. So it's been plotted at 20 degrees centigrade. There would be some value of a specific volume. Right now we are not interested in the numerical value. Say at room temperature, then if density is assumed to be 1000 kg per meter cube, then the specific volume would be 1 divided by 1000.001 meter cube per kg, maybe slightly more or less. Now the point which is to be noted is H2O is at 20 degrees centigrade and is in liquid phase at atmospheric pressure. Now heat is transferred to water and its temperature rises. Now, this is termed as sensible heating of water, since we can sense the change in temperature with the help of thermometer. So when you are heating it, then the temperature would rise. There is an increase in the temperature and there is a very small increase in the specific volume. As the temperature rises, liquid expands slightly. The specific volume may increase. Very small change in the specific volume. So if temperature reaches 200 degrees centigrade, then this may be the, although this has also been exaggerated, that there is a very small change in the specific volume. So due to this change in the specific volume, piston moves slightly up. It's not going back. As more heat is transferred, the temperature keeps rising until it reaches 200 degrees centigrade. At this point, water is still a liquid, but any heat addition will cause some of the liquid to vaporize at this point. So this point starts the phase change process from liquid to vapor. So a liquid that is about to vaporize is called saturated liquid. So water at 100 degrees centigrade at atmospheric pressure is a saturated liquid. So state 2 represent saturated liquid, which is at 100 degrees centigrade. Now beyond point 2, vaporization starts. Now this brown color in this figure represent vapors. So we have liquid plus vapor. And what happens to the temperature? Once boiling starts, the temperature stops rising until the liquid is completely vaporized. During the boiling process, the only change we will observe is a large increase in the volume and a steady decline in the liquid level as a result of the vaporization of liquid. So there is a steady decline in the liquid level as a result, more liquid getting converted into vapor. Now, during this entire process, pressure remains constant at 1 atmosphere. If you have a thermometer inserted here, it will always read 100 degrees centigrade as soon as the vaporization process starts. Now this state 3 represents liquid plus vapor at 100 degrees centigrade. Let's move to the next slide. This 3 point is liquid vapor at 100 degrees centigrade. Now if you further heat it, the remaining portion of water evaporates till the last drop of liquid vaporizes. So at state 4, at this point, the entire cylinder is filled with vapor. This is on the borderline of the liquid phase. Now, any heat loss from this vapor will cause some vapor to condense. So a vapor that is about to condense is called saturated vapor. So now we have a saturated vapor at state 4 and the volume has increased from 0.2 to 0.4. During process 2-4, the pressure and temperature both remain constant at 100 degrees centigrade. The only change is in the volume. A substance at a state between 2 and 4 is referred as saturated liquid vapor mixture. Since the liquid and vapor phase coexist in equilibrium at these states. Now, if you further heat it, phase change process has now stopped, and we are now back to a single phase region. Now, this time it's vapor, and further heat results in the increase in both temperature as well as the specific volume. Now, at state 5, the temperature of the vapor is, say, let us assume to be 300 degrees centigrade. So now we have vapor at 300 degrees centigrade in this cylinder. Now, if we transfer some heat from the vapor, the temperature may drop somewhat, but no condensation will take place as long as the temperature is above 100 degrees centigrade. So, yes. There's some disturbance. Can you please switch off your mic? So we have superheated vapor here. This is called superheated vapor. A vapor that is not about to condense, that is not a saturated vapor, is called a superheated vapor. Vapor at a state point is called saturated vapor, and any vapor state above this point, above 100 degrees centigrade, is superheated vapor. So H2O at state 5 is a superheated vapor state. We'll have to stop here. We'll start from this slide tomorrow because I'll have to prepare for a meeting. There's some disturbance from some of the mic.